record. All right, everybody, I'm so excited you're here this morning. I'm going to do a quick share screen and talk a little bit about what you have due tomorrow, and also then what you're doing for next week too, so that you can get the benefit of having talked to me. This is next week's rubric, so let me move if it'll let me. So I'm peer review. I'm not sure how many of you have finished, and I just wanted to hit this little reminder. See this? I've got my cursor over here. Are you seeing everything okay? Just nod if you are. Yeah, okay. As a reviewer, I just want to throw out this little reminder that, again, you're critiquing the scenes, not the author, which I know you know, but also you're critiquing the piece for what they're trying to do to it, not what you would try to do to it. So just be sure that you're keeping in mind what you think the author's intentions are. And if your suggestions are for directions that the story might go, just remember what they wrote in their summary. And if you're sending them in a new direction, pause and say, well, is this what I would do with the story, or what you really think they should do with the story and what they're trying to do with that? And that's just such an important difference. I wanted to be sure I emphasized it today. Also, while I'm on this, I wanted to bring up, so I was chatting with somebody in one of the classes, so I have two sections, and I had said, didn't you see this in my announcement? And then I wrote it right back and I said, I didn't mean to be snarky. I'm literally trying to figure out where you all get your information from, because I'm trying to pass on helpful advice. And she mentioned something about if it's not in the learning module, there's a chance you won't see it. And so I just want to do one more reminder, and I don't think anybody who's here right now falls in this category, but hopefully maybe somebody watching a recording or something. But the SNHU creates the courses, and so those learning modules are put together by the course designers. And the only place where I have any input, like I can't change any of that content. So I can write announcements, I can send you emails, and I can put things in the general questions discussion board, but I can't change anything in a learning module. And there's some things that'll trip you up. So please, please look at my announcements, because I'm trying very hard to help you. Like, for example, you all know, I think, that you can't use anything from previous courses, and that's true throughout SNHU until you arrive at your thesis. And so, I put in like red font, don't use previous material. And that happens in the announcement, and it happens like in emails. And so if you're not looking at those things, you might miss important advice and do something like accidentally self-plagiarize or whatever. So there's my soapbox. If you're still working on your reviews, I wanted to remind you that a great place to, like, if you're like, I don't really know what to say, take a look at the rubric that I grade people on. So for this assignment, for milestone 1, which I'm in the middle of grading, I'm sorry it's going slow, there's these things that I'm grading them on. You're looking at their scenes. And so like C, D, E, and F on this page right here, those are great things to consider as you're trying to think about what to say about their piece. Do they have a consistent point of view? Are the characters well developed? Is their description of setting like physically? Are they using sensory details? And especially rhetorical devices. That's the place where probably students right now are using the least, like sensory language and rhetorical devices are the ones that most people need to keep pushing, improving, and putting more of in their writing. So those are great things for you to look at so you can figure out what to say to people. And then for next week, we have milestone 2. And in milestones 2 and 3, and in the final project, you are being graded on these critical elements. So this is what the rubric looks like for the rest of the course whenever you turn in your creative writing. And so you're crafting a short story. I'll be grading you on narrative arc. Does it follow the whole narrative arc like I showed in your announcement? Do you have a strong narrative voice in a single point of view? And that's a little frustrating for some of you because you want to have, like, say, 2 characters and you hop back and forth between their points of view. I think the course designers want you to be in one point of view because the maximum length of your story is 2,500 words. And it's very hard to not sort of whiplash your reader moving back and forth between different points of view. So say you have a larger novel in mind and you're writing like a segment of it for this class, please just do the part that's one point of view. And if it's part of a larger novel, be sure you write a complete short story for this class, not leaving us hanging to turn the next page in a novel, but actually like completing the story. And then again, work hard on your setting, both what is it, what time period are we in, what physical setting are we in, but also those sensory details, engage all 5 senses. And these rhetorical devices. My favorite is metaphor and simile. So choose, those for sure. But also all these others they're describing here: irony and foreshadowing, motifs, hyperbole, onomatopoeia. All of those things count as figurative language, and so you can be working on those in your pieces too. But just know that I grade you by this, and I literally, this is what's up. This is how they have me grading you basically. It looks like this. So I will start with narrative arc and work my way down this rubric while I have it on one side of my screen and I have your piece on the other. So it's really worthwhile for you to hold this up and take a look at your own piece based on these categories and ask yourself how you're reading them. Does that make sense? Good. And then finally, module 4, we're going to work on dynamic dialogue. And I know all of you have had English 510. And I know you've had that great advice where you need to keep your dialogue simple, right? He said, she said, and Kelly knows David Gates from Bennington Writing Seminars, but he used to just wail on me. He's like, it's he said or she said. I'm like, but she asked a question. Well, she said the question. I was like, that seemed a little extreme, but definitely try to see if you're going to use, adverbs to help describe the way they're saying something, or like some sort of action verb. Make sure it really matters. Otherwise, simplicity is the most important thing. And in fact, you don't always even need a tag. And I think if I've missed anything as I've skimmed over this, Kelly will probably give you some more advice as well. So that's what's going on next week. Those are some reminders about how to do the work, and how, like, great places to look, because you're going to be doing critical peer reviews 2 more times. So going to the rubric and using that as a template for the kind of critique you give your peers is a great way to do the work. Okay, so that's my stuff, and I'm pretty much done except for timing. I'll be our timer. Oh, unless, Kelly, are you going to time, because you're going to toss out the words, right?
Yeah, if you're able to time, that's great. Otherwise, I'll use a phone and
I'll time.
Okay.
You toss out words, and I can say when we're going to be finished. But
okay.
From here out, I'll turn things over to Kelly and she'll run the rest of it. And we'll do some writing prompts. We'll listen to what you have to read. Not everybody has to read, but you're welcome to read. And Kelly and I will talk to you about what we admire and what you've done.
Yeah, so they'll be pretty quick, our writing exercises. Writing exercises can be kind of weird because you wind up sort of outside of time, so it might feel longer or shorter to you, but it'll just be 5 minutes to start. And this one's called a word throw. So the rules of the game for this are: write continuously. If you're writing on paper, don't pick up your pen. If you're writing on a computer, don't stop typing. The idea is to be generative, even if what you're writing is, I don't know what to write next, I don't know what to write next, until the next thing comes to you, and then continue on. And this exercise is designed to help you surprise yourself. So we all fall into habits and words that we use a lot and things like that. So this is to jolt you out of that a little bit. So it's 5 minutes of continuous writing. Don't second guess yourself or question yourself. This is not the moment to say, I am going to sit down and write a brilliant piece of dialogue. Just write whatever is coming out of you. And what I'm going to do is give you, so this is the book I'm reading right now. It's Lynn Sharon Schwartz's Disturbances in the Field. I recommend her if you haven't read any of her novels. She has about 30 of them, so there's a broad variety to choose from. I'm going to take little phrases out of this book randomly. And when I give you a phrase, you have to write it into what you're writing, incorporate it in some way, and then continue on again without stopping your typing or your writing. And just see what comes of it. So we're going to do this for 5 minutes. Is there any questions on what we're doing or how it works? Okay. So we'll get started for 5 minutes. Okay, start writing. I should be. Of course. At first. Shrinks and vanishes. I even made no fresh start. Move on. A little afraid.
Two minutes left.
Careful surface. Didn't dance. No babies. Never mind. Doesn't even matter.
Thirty seconds.
Life begins anew.
Wrap things up as best you can off that. There's 14 seconds left. Can you hear it? Okay, time's up. Do your best to wrap things up. Kelly, I wonder as people are wrapping things up, I think you did that much better than I've been doing it. So I'd love getting to watch you do it again because I think that you made me flip the page when you intentionally chose something and I was doing the finger stab.
Oh.
So do you mind mentioning as they're wrapping up their writing, like how did you, I mean, for one, I was just blown away by careful surface. So maybe talk about your choices a little bit.
It's fun to say for full surface.
You said it beautifully, but I was trying to imagine how Lynn used that in a sentence. And I know you can't go back to it because you're being random, but what is a careful surface?
I tried to choose some that were sort of easy to incorporate and some that would really trip you up.
That was one. Well, excellent. Okay, so and I forgot to get everybody warmed up. Normally we breathe for a second. I remind them to think about their characters and all that. Instead, we went bam. So I'm super excited to find out what you got from it because going bam can be really jolting. And
I'd love to know how it felt. Like, how did
Right.
everybody feel doing it?
It was fun. Keeps your mind moving.
Do you find yourself anticipating that a word's coming and you slow down your writing, or you just go?
Just go as the words just pop up. And then I just add in your random words to the thoughts.
Nice. Thoughts from anybody else? How'd it go for you?
It went pretty good for me. Like there was like one or two phrases that kind of messed me up, and I had to like figure out how to maneuver it
Yeah.
in. But besides that, like it was really fun and something similar to like previous creative professor had us do of pouring ink in the middle of a sheet, folding it in half, describing what we saw in the ink, and then having to incorporate that into our writing.
Oh,
in
nice.
the same
Oh,
class.
that is
So,
cool.
yeah, it was fun.
A lot of fun. Wow. Yeah. Shane or Casey?
I think this was harder than last time. Mentally, I wasn't prepared to come. I just kind of decided last minute I would jump in. And so that made it a little bit harder to get started. But I actually found that those random phrases helped to put my mind in a direction. But it still is a lot of gobbledygook.
That's okay. Gobbledygook is still writing. Nice. Casey, anything?
I thought it was interesting. I was like writing, and then a phrase would be thrown out, and I'm like, I gotta finish this thought, and then I'd incorporate the phrase. So I have some of them like back to back, and it came out really cool.
Oh, cool. Did it help that I threw the phrases into the chat, or was that not necessary?
Didn't even see it.
Okay.
We heard it.
I didn't even see it.
Okay, no worries. I won't do it next time then. I want to be sure you had access to them. Great. Well, it sounds like it was a lot of fun. So are you interested in sharing what you got?
Sure.
Could be just a piece of it too, if you wanted to share something that sparked you.
Yeah. Okay, so Destiny said sure first. Casey seemed interested. Wynn did too, so we'll go Destiny, Casey, Wynn, and Sheen. If you want to share with the cool stuff that ended up or even a part of it, great.
Okay, so can we share the whole thing if it's like...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The walls are closing in on her. The panic set in. I should be on my way to the bar to meet with the girls. Of course, they wouldn't understand where I am or why I'm not on the way. How could they? They were raised to believe that mental illness is a joke, and at first I believed the same. Until my own came. It shrinks and vanishes sometimes, but comes back in waves of emotions. I even made up my mind to get help. The good it did. Now I am here with no fresh start in place. The walls are closing in during these episodes, and no one helps me. They tell me to move on, to get over it, to pray it away. But it isn't that simple. I am a little afraid of my own self. How can I keep going like this? The careful surface I can achieve while on my good days is nothing compared to the slippery slope I have to maneuver. On the good days, I didn't dance my way around my mind, but on the bad days, there were no babies allowed here. How can there be on the bad days? I can't change my mind. Never mind, I tell myself, it doesn't even matter. Life begins anew, as I say, as I lay still on the floor with the walls closing in.
Oh,
Nice.
That's wonderful. The phrases just blend right into what you've written as if they should always have been there. It's amazing. And you've got some really evocative descriptions for the character's state of mind. It's so cool.
yeah. And I should add, if I haven't already, if you're writing for anything you want to use for class, this is all fair game. Like every word you just put there is welcome to be in your work that you do for class. So that's fantastic. So I was really wondering how careful surface was going to come in. I can't believe how perfectly it fit for your subject. That's wonderful.
And that was one of the ones that kind of like, it took me a second. I kind of like paused while hitting I for a second, like, and then I was like, okay, let's go.
Great.
Perfect.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add for Destiny?
If I can be so, I guess, bold, Destiny, I really think that just in 2 weeks, your writing has exploded. You seemed a lot more comfortable with that one, and like you were strong last time, but this one seemed like you were just ready to be there, and it was really enjoyable, kind of for me to see how quickly that you've like just improved and grasped what we're doing.
She said thank you, but it was kind of like one of those quiet cat meows that didn't come through. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Destiny. I agree with Sheen. That was really confident. Okay. I don't know why Central Washington Hospital is trying to call me. Okay. So I think it's Casey next.
Okay. Sunlight shone through the window. I should be getting up, but of course
Aw.
I'm still in bed. Under my blankets and pillow mountain. At first, I thought I could shrink and vanish, but the real world starts to call. I even made my alarm stop ringing, but it doesn't matter. There is no real fresh start. I need to get going with my day. Move on with my day and stop hoping for the bed to swallow me. I'm a little afraid of starting a new school year. The careful surface of my desk is ready, but I didn't dance at the idea of getting back to school. But there are no babies here, so I will suck it up and never mind. I want to go back to bed. It doesn't matter that life begins anew on the first day of school of the school year.
Nice.
Nice.
We have sort of a theme of struggling with
School.
your own mental state and inertia. Yeah. It's interesting because the phrases are chosen at random, but it's so interesting how they come together. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I really think your opening words of I should be lend themselves, to like, what should you be doing? Right. Yeah, nice. I was wondering, so I'm obviously hung up on careful surface, but I was wondering how you're going to use it. And I like the idea that your person who isn't quite ready to face school has somehow prepared the desk surface. So we see something, we get like a little inroad into your character who's like, don't want to go to school, but also she's prepared and she's going to, and it's going to be fine. She just can't quite get out of bed. Nice. Anybody else want to add?
I like how relatable that one was. Coming off of the end of summer into a new school year, my daughters are starting school, my wife is going back to work in school, and so it was really relatable for me, which made it enjoyable.
Nice. I had seen Destiny unmute for a second, but if
Yeah. So to echo what Sheen said, like it was relatable because like I could remember exactly like starting in Texas schools, and that's where that took me back to, is like my first day in a Texas school, because I lived in Louisiana previously, and like the anxiety I felt going into that school, and just yeah, so very good job.
nice. Okay, are we ready to move on? I think we have Gwen, then Sheen.
Okay. All right, so I should be coming up with a new story, but of course I am procrastinating and jamming out to BTS. At first I was reading, but then the words start to shrink and vanishes. I even made a cute little bunny-shaped mochi to eat as I brainstorm ideas, but no fresh start. The words and lyrics to BTS is moving on in my mind, and I am a little afraid of the outcomes for when I get sucked into the careful surface of their world. However, I didn't dance, but they are giving me permission to dance, and no babies or never mind the stress. It doesn't even matter because in the end, live and begin a new chapter as the world of BTS will inspire me to write a new piece of creative writing.
Great. Writing about writing is always fascinating. it's you can't put writing in a movie because it's deadly dull to just watch somebody stare at the wall and occasionally type something. But writing about writing is always interesting.
I think so too. Also, I thought it really showed that you are a poet because you were confident enough to allow those leaps between sentences that I'm deeply stuck in the world of prose. And I do this morning meditation every weekday morning with a poet. And I don't tend to write poetry in it. I tend to write prose, and I'm trying to break free of that. So I loved watching you leap across the gaps, and I could make the leap with you. You probably wouldn't put that straight in as a short story submission, but definitely, the ideas are sparking in between the spaces you created, which is exciting.
Awesome.
Anyone else?
So there's actually a movie with Will Ferrell. I can't remember the name of it, from about 12 years ago, 15 years ago, about writing. And it's really a compelling movie. It's a great movie. I'm not a fan of Will Ferrell, but it was a really good movie. So I think Wen's is a very cheery version of what I wrote. So it'll be interesting to see as we see my dark side of what she was going through.
Yeah, the movie you're talking about, I can't think of the name of it, but he's the character, right? And the writer is writing his life. Do you know it, Kelly?
And she's trying to kill the character off, trying to figure out how
and
to
he's
do
like,
it.
no, I'm real. And so I've started milestone 1, and somebody's writing something like that, except for the person finds a special journal. And I don't know if any of you have read this one yet. And when she writes it, the world that she's creating becomes real. So it's not quite a character, it's more like the world, but she gets to decide what happens when she writes it. Is it any of you? I ended up getting like 4 hours of sleep the night before last, and I have to go back and review who I've done. Anyone have anything else for Wen? Okay, Sheen, let's hear the dark side of that. Flip side of the coin. Sheen, did somebody need your attention right now?
Oh, sorry. No, I was trying to find that movie real quick because the way my brain works, if there's like a question or a problem, my brain hyper focuses. So I was trying to find it. So I got distracted.
Dog with a bone. I'll look it up while you're doing it.
All right. So
I think I know the title real quick if it'll help you.
Yeah.
Stranger Than Fiction?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brain settling down.
We can all concentrate.
Yeah. Okay. So nothing, empty brain. I'm a little tired today because I've been congested, of course, this week. I really want to figure out a future, but do not know how to tell the future, so I'm stuck staring at a wall. At first, I fly as quickly as I can to conclusions that shrink and vanish as I try to grasp them with feeble hands. I even made an attempt to write the future and manifest it to life, but that didn't work. I am now lost among the fronds of a great tree with no fresh start. I hope that writing will open a world to me, not a physical world, but a world that will move on from the weakness of mortality and seek fuel for my imagination. The prospect of my imagination makes me feel a little afraid. The depths of my mind shatter a careful surface that I project to imitate sanity. Within the depths of my thinking, I didn't dare dance. That's a hard phrase. I didn't dare dance with the denizens of the darkest recesses of my mind. No babies, shouts the drill sergeant, compelling me to keep writing. Never mind, I tell myself, it doesn't matter. Life begins anew.
Oh,
That's great.
Nice. It's not that dark.
I don't know, all those alliterations with the D's, with the didn't dare dance to the dark denizens of my mind. That was pretty dark.
Oh. I must not have catched that. I saw the rainbow side of it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't want to leap on top of Kelly, but one of the things I want to say really quick, because I hear your struggle, Sheen, because you said, you know, you want to work writing and it's hard to find that, right? You know, not just even creative writing, but any kind of writing, editing, that kind of stuff. I just want to encourage you that our world, this world that we're all kind of working towards, if we're not going to be, some of you are teachers, but like trying to be a writer in the world is super, super hard. So rejection and, you know, not getting jobs that you're going for, it's really a part of it. So please don't be discouraged. Just keep working on it.
Yeah, and speaking to your piece a little bit, the way that you become a writer is by writing, you know, and so even in those moments where you've just woken up and you're not in the mood and nothing's coming together, the fact that you sat and wrote and that you're going to sit and write tomorrow is going to make you a better writer.
Mm-hmm.
It has a certain cumulative learning to it that you will see a year from now so much difference from where you are today.
And
But
I
you have
want
to do it.
Yeah. And to add what Kelly said, because she's so exactly right, you also won't notice the change in yourself. So you'll kind of feel like it's pointless because you're like, look, I'm just doing this every day and I'm not getting any better. But she's right. If you set aside something you write today and a year from now, you pull it out, you will see what needed to be improved with it. And you'll see that you're writing better already. It's I thought when I was writing for my dissertation that it was silly. They were like, you just have to write and you'll get better. And I was like, well, how do you get better if, you know, all you're doing is writing and you think you're the same person? But those kind of rhythms of language exist in our mind and we know when we're engaging with them. You have to do it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing. Thanks for turning this into a group therapy session. I appreciate that. Is that I don't have a good discipline writing every day because I spend my whole day in front of my computer. And by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm just tired and I don't want to do anything else. So I really am working to develop that discipline. More D's. I need to stop with the D's today.
Well, and also,
I go through the same thing, honestly. And, you know, I've got a full life, which is wonderful. And it's hard to find time in it for the things that I want to do. But I think forcing yourself to put a dedicated time in whatever works for you is the right thing. So whether that's the end of the day before you call it the end of the workday, if it's the beginning of the day before you get started, if it's when I was doing the MFA, for me, it was my lunch break because I had this sort of energy of working and forward movement, and I could channel that into some work for school and then go back to work. Whatever works for you is the right thing. There's people who will tell you it has to be first thing in the morning to be any good. Don't listen to them. If you're doing it, you're doing it.
Nice. Thank you.
And the thing that I would add is, please don't do what I do. I am not a good daily writer, although this meditation is helping me. I am writing every day now and it's having an impact. But for example, you know, I got into that program I told you all about when the class started and I wrote like half that draft of the memoir in a month. And I don't recommend that. It's miserable. If you can accumulate your writing and do it every day, it's so helpful to your practice and it's a better quality product as you go forward. Don't do what I do. Do all of you have anything to add to Shin? Sorry.
Laughing emoji.
I saw that. laughing, crying emoji. You know, for his, so obviously Wynn's like me, I've been accused of being a Pollyanna my whole life. So no, there's rainbows in there too. But Casey or Destiny, did you want to add anything? I don't want to cut you off. Okay, the mutes are saying, oh, here's Casey.
I really liked the alliteration. That's probably one of my favorite figurative languages, so I did appreciate all the details.
Yeah, and in this case, because it was a short thing, you know, alliteration is really a functional thing in the moment that you're trying to be a little poetic in your prose, in my opinion. Too much alliteration in a prose piece could be distracting. Would you agree, Kelly?
Yeah, and those hard consonants they have an effect too. There's a reason why, you know, certain swears sound the way they do, because they've got those hard consonants in them that sound really good. So when you're talking about something like struggling, you know, they can be really helpful. All of this is after the fact, of course. It needs to just come out of you in the first draft, and then you go back and say, what do I have? And ooh, I've got some great alliteration there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Okay, this is fantastic. Okay, so brief pause, set you up a little better. If you think that you can like focus on the story you're thinking you're going to use next time, that might be a productive way to use this time. You don't have to, but if you want to like explore something through one of your characters, or if you want to really work on things like sensory language or figurative language, think, you know, put that somewhere in the way back of your mind as Kelly throws words at you this time. Is that helpful at all? I hope.
So this one, I was going to do something a little bit different. So we'll take the first minute, I think, and read through what you've already written and underline any phrases that sort of speak to you. So it could be from the word throw, it could be your phrasing, but just things that you feel drawn to, that feel like they have some energy. Just underline those in some way and take the first minute to do that.
And we'll probably write for an extra minute, right?
And then we'll write after that.
Okay. We're starting the first minute. Okay, about 10 seconds left, and we're going to hit 5 minutes. Okay, it's time to get writing.
Okay, so for the next 4 minutes, we're going to take one of the phrases that you've underlined, and we're going to use it in your writing. You can use it multiple times, but that's going to be the phrase that you return to if you're stuck, if you don't know what to do next. You're going to go back to that phrase. So you can continue to use it over and over. You can use it one time. It's up to you. And I'm going to give you the phrase that we're going to start with. And then you're going to, again, write without stopping for the full 4 minutes. Use your phrase as you write. Any questions? Okay, so we're going to start the next 4 minutes with the phrase, the next night.
You have a minute left. Okay, wrap things up. When you get a chance, and come back this way. Kelly, I had forgotten the second step. Last time I did this, I just did 2 different word throws, and this is really important.
Yeah, I like this one.
I have a memory of being in Tishman and then repeating. I have it in my Bennington notebook, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I dug that out the other day to do some writing because one of Manuel's exercises ended up in my memoir writing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Like the experience of doing Manuel's exercise. Okay, so I can, like, the only person I can see is Lynn, but I can see she's wrapping up. So I'm hopeful. Destiny's good. Okay.
Thumbs up.
You can always throw me a thumbs up. Yeah, she's got one. And then I'm going to trust that Casey's getting there. So great.
I'd love to hear how that one felt for everybody.
And
I liked this one a lot.
yeah, like Casey said, I like this one a lot too. So
I'm going to be eager to hear if you were repeating your phrase. That's a big one.
Mine's repetitive.
I'd love to hear everybody's phrases. If you can read a piece of yours or not. I know we're getting close on time, but I'd love to hear what phrase you all chose.
We actually allowed like an hour and a half. That probably wasn't fair to you. So because it does always spill over the hour a little bit, just because we want to give everybody a chance to read.
Okay, great.
I can go first again. So
okay.
Okay, so my phrase was these episodes, and I just kind of continued on from the first story. So it starts with the next night I laid under the bed. These episodes were getting worse. Megan was home, but she wouldn't understand these episodes. On a normal day, I could walk with my head held high. But on the bad days, the days when these episodes came, it was all I could do to even roll over. No one understands the paralyzing fear, the way it catches in my throat, and I feel like I will be choked to death. No one understands. Not Megan with her bubbly, hypocritical personality. No one. The way she said to pray about it, that the Lord does not give us more than we can handle. It was like a razor blade straight to my heart. These episodes aren't something that I asked for. I want it to be normal and to live life without wondering what will pull the trigger on this mind disease. No, instead I lie under the bed, the door locked and all lights off. The darkness I can see is nothing compared to the darkness I feel with these episodes.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah, it is. But there's action in it too. Even though we're sort of contained within the mind of the character, we're lying down on the floor. There's things happening, and that makes it very interesting.
And I agree that there's also action in her thought process. And so we are set physically, and then you gave us some nice figurative language, right? Like a razor blade to the heart. We could understand her frustration, and we understand why her friend is hypocritical. you know, in this character's mind. So you got a lot accomplished in 5 minutes. Well, 4 minutes of writing. Yeah. Wind says it's dark. Anything else? Casey or Sheen?
I think again, like with Casey's first one, is that for me, your story was very relatable. I deal with a lot of health issues. Have been deep in depression for a lot of time over the last few years, and I think the way that you write and the way that Casey writes, having a couple different samples of your guys' work, you guys just really grasp what it means to exist and live in your writing. And as an audience member, as someone hearing it, it just really makes me want to hear more, want to read more, because I can connect to it so easily.
Yeah, writing is your therapy. So it's nice that we get to just write things out.
I really liked it, and I liked the part where you were talking about like how your friend just says to like pray and do all this stuff, and it's like people can give you as much advice as they can come up with, but sometimes they just don't understand. And I think the way you said it in that part was just perfect.
Well, that was fantastic. Does anybody want to go after that?
I can go the second.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. What was your phrase?
Tell the future.
Great.
The next night she called. I do not know how to tell the future, she said. She sounded tired, worn down, but with a hint of excitement. I wish I could help her tell the future. I find myself distracted by the hint of excitement. What does she know? If she can't tell the future, how can she have that excitement? The future is yours to determine, I say. I don't need to determine the future, she responds. The inauspicious tone of her voice furthers my confusion. She has to know something, has to have seen something. As I can't tell the future, I am left wondering, do I dare be bold and ask what she knows, or do I let my curiosity fester like a rotting cucumber at the bottom of the fridge?
Oh, that ending. I love it.
Yeah, really quick, if you don't mind, like a teaching moment, because Sheen, that like a rotting cucumber at the bottom of the fridge, I'm just picturing the soup of that. And I just want to say that's what metaphors do for us, right? So like we have this vivid image of in our mind of the story we're writing, but we have to translate that to our reader, and you find common ground with metaphors and similes like that, because you can say, no, it's like this, and we all know what a soupy, disgusting cucumber is like, right? So that's a great way to reach your reader, your audience, is to have a comparison like that.
I actually just got back to Utah from a month in California, and that's what I came home to. I opened my fridge, and there was a rotting cucumber at the bottom of my vegetable drawer.
Well, nicely done that you brought in an important thing like that. Jean, I also thought the phrase, how can she have this excitement, really told us so much about your first person narrator, because I'm assuming I'm gendering it because you're saying it. He just doesn't understand how she can possibly have a hope for the future when, he doesn't feel the same way. So we know that about him just by that statement, which is really great. Anyone else? Kelly had a 1 hour commitment. I know she's running a yard sale, so sorry.
I'm standing outside now. Sorry.
No worries. We're just glad you took the time to be with us.
I love hearing these though.
Any other thoughts on, Destiny?
Again, I also love the metaphor of the rotting cucumber, because I could instantly picture that. But I just like the way that it was kind of like bouncing back and forth between this excitement, but also there was this sense of frustration because she couldn't tell the future, and she was being kind of ambiguous in like her responses to him. And that kind of gave us a lot of character development, even in that short sample, because it was like, okay, I'm getting both characters here. So I really like that.
Yeah, excellent. Because it's also, some of us are not as empathetic. Like, of course the future is going to be great. And other people are like, of course the future isn't going to be great. And you're right. We learned so much about characters just in their attitude. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Shane. Would Casey, Destiny, or no, Destiny I already read. Casey or Wynn, are you interested in reading your work?
I'd like to go.
Okay.
I used the phrase shrink and vanish. The next night, she sat on the beach, looking out as the water crashed to the shore. Little flecks of moonbeam glitter glistened as she thought, I could shrink and vanish. In the end, she was still alone, like before. She came ashore. Unable to speak her mind, she is easily ignored, shrinking and vanishing into the background. This was a fate worse than becoming sea foam. She was still here and already forgotten, shrinking and vanishing a little more each day.
Sounds very poetic.
Yeah, great use of the phrase, I think.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating to know how Lynn Sharon Schwartz used it, because this came through beautifully for this character, that she feels unseen and she tries to be unseen and she can't be unseen, and yet she's not seen. That's pretty complicated.
That conflict between blindness and sight, you'll see it turn up over and over and over and over and over again in pieces. Sometimes literally, like back in Greek tragedy, who's literally the blind seer, but also just figuratively. Once you start looking for it, you'll see it everywhere.
And if you want to see a huge treatment of it, read the novel Blindness. That is, have you read it yet, Kelly? Yeah, it's an incredible look at what do we see and what do we not see. And it's a dystopian novel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or pick up King Lear. That's another one.
True. Well, and Blindness was made into a movie, but they really had a hard time, I think, conveying what the novel meant. But the novel was a lot of work. Yeah. I read the whole thing, but it took an effort. Anybody want to add anything to what they heard in Casey's?
So I really like that the figurative language came through. I was able to see this beach with this water and the moon glistening off of it. Like I was there in the moment. And like, again, I could also relate to the character a little bit of like wanting to be seen, but not wanting to be seen, but being seen, but not wanting to be seen. Like that whole back and forth of emotions, I could definitely relate to. So good job, Casey.
Yeah, I like the first two sentences too, with the glittering and the sceneries of it.
Yeah, it's almost like we could picture, for some reason I thought it was nighttime, and I'm not sure if you told us that, but I was picturing your glittering sand being the like opposite side of the stars, so like the stars were, that's how my mind took it. So something descriptive there was working for me anyway. All right, Wynn, do you want to read yours?
Okay. The next night, I found my cute little bunny-shaped mochi transformed into words that started to shrink and vanish. Why did it shrink and vanish? Did the cute little bunny-shaped mochi do this to my words? Little cute bunny-shaped mochi, so cute and sweet. The gooey outer layer and yummy ice cream fillings. Strawberry and mango, the cute little bunny-shaped mochi is speaking to me as I get sucked into the careful surface of the mochi world. It is keeping my thoughts calling as I think of ways to add this cute little bunny-shaped mochi into my next story.
I love, so was your phrase, and I meant to ask you that, was it bunny-shaped mochi?
Yeah, cute little bunny-shaped mochi, and words start to shrink and vanishes.
We had a return of careful surface.
Right.
Yep, and that too. Careful surface.
I liked how it seemed to be like a working out a thought process. So it's still a writer writing about writing.
And I like
And
that
I-
careful surface seems to be like a membrane between worlds. That's really neat.
Excellent point. Also, because I love mochi, but I've only ever had it in a ball, I'm having a really hard time. Yeah, I'm having a really hard time picturing a bunny shaped mochi.
That would be fun to make. I want to see one like that too.
Oh, so it's literally imaginative. It's not a thing.
Yep, it's fiction.
Well, Shane, we understand that daughters can attack. He chatted us that he's sorry that he missed your stories. But this is recorded, so just come however many minutes in and you can still hear them if you want. I'm going to stop the recording now because we've done like the whole class part. So then we can finish up by talking to each other.